Hello everybody and welcome back to Apio Puzzles, and it is the inaugural Golden Waffle Awards today. This is my weekly wrap on clues of the week, and one lucky setter will be walking away with the Golden Waffle. Now, for the moment I am stuck with a stock image whose copyright is uncertain, but hopefully at some point I'll contrive to create, either by means of a human being or an artificially intelligent sentient overlord, some sort of snazzy and more cutesy golden waffle. But this one at least looks very tasty, and let's see who the winner will be. Now, unfortunately this week I've done but two solvers, I believe, on the channel, DA and Liam Runnels, so it's a fight between the two of them today for the golden waffle. But I'm hoping this week that I'll do these two guys plus at least another couple, so there'll be more to choose from next week, and competition is always good, and no doubt will be fierce. So as for this week, I've got a list of clues here, and they're color coded. The first three all from Liam Runnels, and I would label them as beginner friendly and fairly approachable clues. And then we've got a couple in some sort of weird, I don't know what color that is, brownish, very light brownish, and those are DA clues, which are harder and yet are very cool clues. And my orange clue at the bottom there, which I suppose in some sense looks closest to the golden waffle but is actually intended as a do not go there clue, is the one clue that I could not understand at all in the final. Well, I can see how it might work, but I'm not sure if that is the way it's done. Then I'm not confident that I agree with the structure of the clue. So we'll see if you guys can correct me if I'm missing something, or if I am misunderstanding DA's sensibilities there. So this grid actually is available if you want to give it a try. Obviously it's not a connected crossword, so you'll have no help from crossing letters. I think maybe the software allows you to reveal individual letters though, if you want to do that. In the meantime, if you want to check me out giving you the answers, then by all means continue. So one across, fraud with screenplay draft from Liam Runnels. Chose these clues based on a few factors, some of them just being outright cool clues, some being instructive in some way or another, or having something a bit interesting or unusual about them. So a bit of a mix. One across, fraud with screenplay draft by Liam Runnels. So I came back around to this one. I had a couple of letters in place, and if I remember correctly, it was this one and this one, and then I got over the line. I had already thought of this S word in my first passing, and so this confirmed that this was in there, but at the end of the answer. And our final answer is conscript, and a fraud is a con, and a screenplay is a script, and a draft is, or to draft is to conscript, or I guess a draft is a conscript in the sense of military. And I chose this clue. It's a straightforward clue to pass. It's not, I mean, you may not necessarily get it on first pass. I didn't, but I liked it because, and I think the reason I didn't actually get it on first pass is that I was adequately misdirected by the part of speech that's used with the word draft here. So in the clue, the surface reading suggests a draft of a screenplay, and indeed, more particularly, it suggests the kind of a noun, whereas most often the word conscript, I think I would read it as a verb, to conscript, and so a nice misdirection there. And for anyone new to cryptics, that's something to be on the lookout for, and they can be very deceptive. One that's come up a couple of times for me that I've failed on or been misled on is the word entrance, and you might think, well, that can only mean one thing, but of course to entrance is another word with the same spelling, but not only is it a different part of speech, but it's pronounced markedly differently, so very interesting. So number two, what have we got? Puts up with bottom half of grid being moronic, and this is a very easy clue. but I like it because it's classic Liam being a bit silly. This clue was in the bottom half of the grid on Saturday, I think. And straightforward passing, we have the word puts, which we're going to rearrange, or we're going to reverse rather. We're going to turn it up. This was a down clue, so we turn puts around to get stoop. And half of grid is, of course, just half that word ID, and being moronic is stupid. So a classic Liam Reynolds play. What's that all about? That's some next level rendering issues. Unbranded label stocked by Cotton on America, 2-4, another Liam Reynolds clue, and an easy one in principle, although these kinds of clues I always like to say can be hard if you don't notice what's happening, but as soon as you do, then they're trivial. So this is the classic hidden clue, where the answer is actually just literally written letter for letter in the clue. So Noname inside Cotton on America is no name, which means unbranded. The indicator for this is the word stocked. So what we're saying is that the Cotton on America is stocking, is holding inside of itself a word meaning unbranded label. So that's the easy ones down. Let's have a look what we had for the hard ones. And I set this up yesterday, so I'm actually forgetting what I put. Bank contributes to film great bean variety. I love this clue. I just thought for a second I had the wrong number of letters, but that is right. I really like this clue because it perfectly exemplifies why one of the big reasons why I love cryptics, especially why I love them as compared with regular crosswords. Because I had never seen this word in my life, as far as I'm aware, and yet I was able to solve it, and that's what's so cool. Definition. I pretty much assumed that the definition element here was bean variety. That seemed quite likely, and I thought, well, if it's a variety of beans, that's already probably something I'm not going to know. And as it turns out, it seemed like a pretty obscure word to me when I finally solved it. But I was certain that I was correct with the aid of crossing letters, of course. So we've got bank contributing to film great, or film. We never know when we're first passing it how we're supposed to divide up the sequence of words in terms of meaning. But it turns out we're looking for a film great, a famous film star. And that film star is going to have a bank contributing to them, that is put inside them. And I think I had I had those letters there. So have a think about that, what banks might go in. Now this is an Australian reference here, so you may struggle if you're not from here. But as it turns out, many of the Australian banks seem to abbreviate to 3 letters. I guess that's the ASX codes. And so I remember passing this thinking, okay, we've got NAB. Well, N and B are in there. Maybe it's NAB. What's telling us to go backwards? Don't know. And then I thought CBA. Well, that would also work. And instinct told me that wasn't correct. And then I thought, there's also A and Z. And when I saw that Z, I thought, that could go inside a word for a bean. That seems plausible. A lot of food varieties and plants have unusual letters like that. And then I looked at the rest and thought, hang on a minute, what about Garbo? Garbo, the film great, with the contribution of the A and Z, makes garbanzo, as I say, a word I've never consciously seen, and yet 100% in the end solvable. It's still a hard clue, obviously. I was, in a sense, I was lucky to clock Garbo, I think, because that wouldn't necessarily have dawned on me, but the bank bit wasn't too tricky to think about, but there we go. So 5 across. Close to collapse. Mate swallows 1 herbal remedy. Another clue from David, and I think I just read that as close to collapse, and of course superficially this is close to collapse, and that's the surface reading. But I have a tendency when I see the word close in a clue to always read it as close, because it almost always means close, which is to say the final letter, the closing letter of something. So here we're looking for the closing letter of collapse, and then a word for mate. which is swallowing a word for one, and we get a herbal remedy. I got this primarily from thinking there must be an E probably at the beginning, and having, I think, one or two other letters, and of course suspecting that if closed to collapse was an indication for E, then herbal remedy must be the definition. And with the letters that I had in place, which I'm not really sure what they were now, might have been a C here, and it might have been an H here, I'm not sure, but with those you might start to get the picture. This is a slightly unusual word, and it is this, echinacea. And I like this. I thought I'd bring this one up in the video because it's a little bit of cryptic-ese, I suppose. It may not be that familiar to many people, particularly outside of the UK, I suppose. I don't know how common this is in the UK either, but it is apparently a piece of British slang. And so we have the close to collapse, which is E, and we have one, which in this case is ace. And that ace is being swallowed by the word China. And you might wonder, where does China come from here? Well, the word mate, being a friend, another word for that is, in fact, the word China. That is a piece of British slang, which I had seen, I think, once or twice before in cryptics. And so when I solved basically from the definition, and I noticed that China was there, strangely enough, China is there directly, but in fact we need C-H-I-N and then the final A, which is swallowing ace, A-C-E. But when I noticed that, I was like, oh wow, yeah, I know that. So that's one to know. And of course, some days you may come across a clue with that reference that isn't so easy to solve from definition. So knowing that mate might be China could be super useful. Now, old mate 6 across or whatever it was I can almost remember because I looked at the clue so many times. I think it was 23 across or something. Twitter now to spoil threads containing bloomers. Now, unless you're amongst the elite, I suspect you might struggle to solve this, although it's just I don't know how well known this word is. For me, it was a complete... I joked while I was trying to solve it that it could be this particular combination of letters, thinking obviously not, and yet it was this in the end. And I might just put it in. If you want to pause and try to figure it out, then by all means. Maybe I'll give you a letter. This would be helpful in your passing, which is this. And I think this wasn't a checking letter, so there was no way to get this without just getting the answer. There was no word crossing up and down. And I came back and forth to this potential of this being an X many times because I suspected that Twitter now meant the letter X, being the name of Twitter, and I suspected that spoil, well, normally it would be an anagram indicator, but you don't have 5 letters anywhere to rearrange. And I thought maybe it's spoiling in the sense of going inside of something and kind of, if you put something into a dish, you would spoil it. But then you would need a word for threads, and then you'd have this word containing that didn't seem to make any sense. It didn't have a purpose, and it's not a natural connector word between wordplay and definition. So, and the fact of containing being in that position was leading me to think the definition must be Twitter or Twitter now, and then a bunch of stuff where containing is acting as an indicator word. And it was all just too much for me. I did give up in the end, and I think I looked it up on the solve, and it was this. I was stalling for time there because I actually forgot what the answer was. Correct. My score is 60 points. Well done. So oxlips. Now, oxlips is, I should have looked this up again, but it's some sort of plant variety, and hence, or flower, I suppose. So bloomers, as far as I can tell, the way this works is the bloomers is the definition. Twitter now is X. Spoil threads. Threads is acting as an anagram indicator on the word spoil. So we rearrange spoil to get olips, put X inside of it. And then the word containing is in a sense, well, it is explicitly the container indicator, except that it's kind of completely out of order in the clue, according to like natural convention, I suppose. Well, actual convention and kind of logical convention. It doesn't seem to make sense that you'd put it afterwards. So I can't see any other way of interpreting that clue that adheres to convention. So I'm guessing that that's the correct passing. But I'm a bit dubious about whether that kind of passes muster. It's obviously DA is one to break convention, and many of us love him for that. But I don't know, this one felt clunky. It didn't seem to, the payoff didn't seem adequate for the breaking of convention, and particularly because not only have you got this, you've got three very strange things happening here. You've got threads acting as an anagram indicator. Well, actually, four things. Threads as an anagram indicator, which is pretty. I guess maybe it's threads like a thread on a bottle top or something, and that's got some sense of turning around. You've got the fact that it's applying to the word spoil, which in itself would be the natural anagram indicator. You've got containing completely out of place. And you've got a definition, or you've got a final answer, which is an obscure word referred to by a definition element, which in itself is very vague, just bloomers. So that's difficulty upon difficulty. So I'd be interested to know what you guys think, or if indeed you think I might have mispassed that. But I think it's suffice to say that despite its colour on the grid, it is not the winner of the golden waffle. And you may have noticed that the eagle-eyed amongst you may have noticed someone lurking behind our golden waffle, waiting in the wings. He's been notified in advance. Well, actually, no, he hasn't. But in this fictional universe that I've created, he's standing backstage, waiting to come out and accept his waffly prize, and it is old mate Liam Runnels. If I was really sophisticated, I'd find some way of animating him chomping down on the waffle here, but that is well above my abilities at this stage. But in time, my friends, I think this golden waffle thing's got legs. Now, of course, the question then is, which clue did I award? I struggled to choose one here. I think it came down to garbanzo from DA on account of it just being a cool word and a cool backstory in terms of my solving of it, if we can call that cool, we can call me cool, and between, I suppose, definitely between number 2 and number 3, stupid and no name. I thought no name was a really cool hidden to come across, and Liam's good at those actually. On more than the average number of occasions, he has whipped out 4-word hiddens, which is pretty rare. But I did in the end go with stupid. Let's just pop Liam in his place there. There he is, stupid. Sorry, Liam. I think that's just a lovely clue because it's not difficult at all, but it's just a classic LR move, a bit of humour, that's self-referential. It's a self-referential in it's referring to a crossword, but it's also its position in the grid was indeed in the bottom half, and so kudos to our conscript stupid Liam and his funny little ox lips. No name. That's quite funny. Garbanzo. Maybe we should just call Liam Gar. No, I'm going to call. Okay, for the foreseeable future, I think Liam, having succeeded at winning the golden waffle, deserves to keep his true and proper name of LR. But David, unfortunately this week, I may have to relegate you to, I wish I'd brought up a picture of David now, but David's definitely going to be, well, either garbanzo or ox lips, to be honest. I feel inclined to use ox lips just to, out of spite. Garbanzo certainly has a kind of the appropriate vibe about it for how I'm feeling about that ox lip clue, but garbanzo was a clue that I loved, so I feel funny about using that as an insult. But thank you to both of you, both to Garbo. That'll do. I'll go Garbo DA. Thank you for your lovely clues and your irritating clues, and Liam, the legend and the inaugural holder of the Golden Waffle. Thank you for 3 unerringly brilliant clues that didn't entirely break my brain, and for the beautiful crossword self-referential stuff. And thank you to you all for watching. This is a longer video than I anticipated, but that is the nature of the waffle. I'll be back for intro and outro waffle, sandwiching an actual crossword in a day or two. And I think I'm about to turn this one off and apply myself to an extremely difficult Sudoku. So watch out for that. If I manage to get through it, it will be on the channel. Until then, thanks again to everybody. Congratulations again to Liam, Victor, and no doubt this will not be his first championship, but there'll be more competition next week. So thanks again, everyone, and I'll see you all next time.